Most people think that weight loss is about cutting carbs or doing more cardio, but the moment that shifted for this client had nothing to do with diet or training. It was fear, real fear. She looked at her family with its diabetes and health problems piling up and thought, I don't want to end up like that. That hit her harder than any crash diet ever could. It wasn't about motivation. It wasn't about willpower. It was the realization that if I keep going like this, that's my future. Now, here's the interesting bit. She didn't reach out to me straight away. Not even close. She waited 3 months before she messaged me. Whole 3 months. And there's a reason for that. Most people don't talk about this part because she didn't wake up motivated the next day. She just kept coming to the gym and walking on the treadmill, hoping something would magically change. She was stuck in that fear, 3 months of thinking, I need to do something, being completely overwhelmed and not knowing where to start. And honestly, that is so common. We like to think that once you decide to change, you just get on with it, but most people don't. They hesitate, they overthink, they get embarrassed, they tell themselves they should already know what to do, or that they need to lose weight before they're allowed to even get help. Some even feel guilty for wanting a different life from the one they grew up in. She told me that she wanted to message me for ages, but she thought that I might judge her, she thought that she might fail, or she thought that she wasn't ready. Loads of people feel like that. They know something has to change, but they're carrying years of shame and mixed messages about food and exercise, and it just freezes them up. When she finally reached out, she said something I'll never forget. I didn't think someone like me could succeed. That 3 month silence wasn't about laziness. It wasn't about a lack of motivation. It was a lifetime of believing that health is something other people get right, not her. And the first thing she asked me wasn't about calories or training. It was about this weight loss shake that she'd been recommended. And you know the type, the big promises, the fat burning ingredients and all of that nonsense. She sent me a photo of the label and asked if it was worth trying. And it was basically just sugar in a tin. And that wasn't her being daft. She'd been drowning in diet noise for years. Conflicting advice, magazines, influencers, well-meaning friends giving dated advice that just wasn't practical. Honestly, she couldn't tell what was helpful and what was just complete rubbish. And when I said, you don't need that, you just need to eat normal food, let's keep this simple, you could almost like feel the relief. It was the first time anybody had said to her, you're not broken, you're just confused, and it's not your fault. That's when everything started to shift. Not because she found the perfect diet, but because she realized she wasn't the problem anymore. It was the nonsense she'd been told. Once that clicked, everything started to sort of relax and soften. She stopped chasing quick fixes, started trusting the process that we put in place. Because the real work wasn't meal prep or numbers on the scale, it was unpicking years of guilt and shame. She believed she had no willpower. She'd kind of imagined herself overeating and being greedy and having snacks and stuff, that she was weak and that it was her fault and that she was a failure. And when you've carried that for decades, it shapes everything. How you train, how you eat, how you talk to yourself in the mirror. We talked about emotional eating, snacking when she wasn't hungry, just kind of being alone in the house or sitting around. Stress eating, using food to cope because, something bad had happened in the day. None of that made her weak. It made her just a normal human being. And once she understood why she reached for food, everything changed. She stopped treating food like it was a battle. It stopped being this good versus bad thing. And she let go of this all or nothing mindset that she created for herself. She started actually enjoying food again. That was the real shift. Not when she lost the weight, but when she realized food isn't the enemy, and neither is she. Then came the big moment. And this wasn't about fitness. It was about her identity. She genuinely believed exercise wasn't for her. Gyms were for younger, slimmer, fitter people. And she'd look around the gyms and sort of think, oh, I'd like to be like that 20-year-old, She thought women her age just couldn't do certain things. And she thought that people would judge her. And when you learn that most girls drop out of structured exercise by around age 11, it makes sense why that belief sticks so deeply for women. So we keep things simple, right? So we did some boxing, we did some circuits, and we did some basic strength work. And I'll never forget the moment that everything changed. She's hitting those pads with some real force, some proper power. And when she finished the set, she just kind of like froze. looked at her hands and was like, was that me? And then we both laughed. And she had this kind of mix of shock and pride and relief. And for the first time in years, she felt really strong. And I don't mean just physically, like really emotionally. She spent her whole life believing she couldn't do things. And then suddenly she could. And then week by week, she comes in the gym, walking taller, moving differently, more confidently, trained like someone who finally believed that her body wasn't a problem to be solved, that she was capable, and she always has been. The physical changes, they followed. The clothes fitting better, the 2 dress sizes she went down, people noticing her at work and at events, telling her she looked stronger and healthier and, better in her clothes. But the thing that she's most proud of wasn't the outside, it was the inside. She stopped fearing food, stopped hiding in photos, stopped telling herself that she was somehow broken, and she started believing she could do the hard things. And if you're listening to this and thinking, well, that sounds like me, I want you to really hear this. Feeling stuck doesn't mean you failed. Hesitating and not starting doesn't mean you're weak. And being scared about your health or your future doesn't make you dramatic. It just makes you a normal human being. Most people don't reach out straight away. They'll sit there for months, sometimes even years. But the moment you decide you want something better, that's when everything changes. And if this story hits home for you, here are the 3 beliefs that she changed and that you can too. So the first belief is that she was the problem. And you're not, right? Most people aren't broken. They're just overwhelmed. The second belief is that exercise isn't for someone like me. Well, I can tell you it is. Strength, training, and exercise in the gym belongs to everyone, especially in midlife. And the third belief she had was that she needed to be perfect. And you don't. Perfection ruins progress more than anything. So look, if you're local to Surrey, especially around Lightwater and the surrounding villages, I coach people like this every week at Lightwater Leisure Centre. And if you've been sitting with that feeling that you're stuck, overwhelmed, and not sure where to begin, please don't wait another 3 months. Just reach out to me. There's no pressure. There's no judgment. Let's just have a little chat and see if this is the step that you need. Because if that feels like your story too, your next chapter can start whenever you decide it does.